Welcome to Apple Teeny, where Siri got smarter and somehow still feels behind. The funniest part of Apple's AI moment is that Siri can find your file, then just kind of stare at it. Meanwhile, the rest of the AI world is trying to run your whole workflow like an overcaffeinated intern. Siri is definitely better than it was a year ago. I don't think that's even debatable. But that is also the easiest possible victory lap because the old benchmark was years of people saying out loud to their phones, "Why are you like this?" The real test is whether the new Siri stands up next to ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, the stuff normal people can already use right now. On that scale, the vibe here is more like a 6.5 or 7 out of 10. Fine, competent, very much not the machine that was supposed to change everything. And the bigger problem is timing. What Apple promised in 2024 might have looked great next to GPT-4 era tools, but the market kept sprinting. OpenAI isn't some scrappy side project anymore. The comparison point now is a product with roughly 1 billion weekly users, mostly on the free tier. And the claim here is blunt. OpenAI's free 5.6 Luna model is substantially better than Apple's foundation model at general knowledge, web search, reasoning, and tool use. That tracks with the feel of Siri's answers. They're usually not spectacularly wrong, they're just aggressively first draft. It gives you the informational equivalent of a box labeled crackers. Yes, technically food. No, not exciting, nuanced, current, or particularly useful if you actually cared about the question. So when people say they've replaced ChatGPT with Siri for research, I have to be honest, that sounds wildly optimistic. Even casual users already know what it feels like when an assistant can hold a long voice conversation or actually chase down the answer instead of stopping at the first passable one. Apple's best card is obvious. It owns the device, the apps, the personal data, the permissions, the whole stack. That's why app intents matter. In theory, Siri should be the assistant that can actually do stuff inside your world. And yes, it can handle some clean little demo tasks like making a reminder or checking a calendar. Then you hit reality. In one Mac test, Siri found a Pages document and still couldn't open it. Open the folder it's in, right-click it, or preview it. That is incredible in the bad way. It located the thing and then became emotionally unavailable. Meanwhile, other tools can use permissions, Apple Script, accessibility features, command line tools, and just finish the job. That's the split right now. Apple's doing narrow app-specific actions in sequence, while competitors are starting to chain tools across apps and behave more like productivity agents. Apple talks about personal context, but a lot of this sounds less like understanding and more like rummaging through a few databases and grabbing whatever comes up first. When Siri was asked what the hosts had decided to discuss, it pulled an old reminder, an unrelated email, and stale notes instead of the actual iMessage conversation from that morning. Asked for a passport photo, it surfaced an expired passport from years ago. Asked about another topic, it turned up old Pokemon messages and random links instead of the recent conversation that mattered. That is such a perfect modern AI frustration. The answer looks plausible enough that the system apparently decides, great, nailed it, and stops looking. And because the indexing is opaque, you can't really inspect it, force it, or reliably tell it what to prioritize. So you're stuck with this first passable result syndrome. One of the strangest parts of this whole thing is that Spotlight and Siri feel like two different species living in the same house. Spotlight can often do the boring but essential thing, find the exact app or document and open it immediately. Siri, with all the AI sparkle around it, doesn't inherit that same reliability. So Spotlight can perform a basic action Siri cannot. That's not a cute little quirk, that's the product telling on itself. You can see the missing pieces too. Finder, Apple Script, accessibility APIs, the Spotlight index. Apple has all these ingredients and still hasn't made the complete meal. Maybe that's deliberate because they don't want to wreck Spotlight by making it probabilistic, or wreck Siri by making it rigid. But right now the split just feels unfinished. This operating system cycle sounds like Apple's most boring beta season in years, and honestly, that may just be what a transition year looks like. Last year had the big, flashy iPadOS changes and liquid glass drama. This year is bug fixes, performance, polish, and Siri features that still aren't available to users in Europe. Some of that is good. Performance improvements matter. A more consistent liquid glass design matters. It's just hard to make polish feel thrilling because once it works, it disappears into the background, which is kind of the point. Spotlight sounds like one of the more meaningful upgrades, especially if your Mac is constantly indexing giant piles of podcast, audio, and writing files. And zooming out, the whole release has the energy of stabilization, not spectacle, with even some chatter about a broader leadership transition from Tim Cook to John Turnus. The most interesting part of this conversation might be the thing happening outside Apple entirely. In one experiment, a voice request went from an iPhone to a Mac Studio, then over SSH to a Mac Mini, ran an iMessage vector search, and came back with the right result in about 10 seconds. Obviously, that is not a normal person setup, that's a lab demo with receipts. But it shows where the tech is heading. AI tools are moving beyond chat and into orchestration across messages, files, apps, and even multiple machines. And that's the uncomfortable timing for Apple. Siri is arriving at the chatbot stage, just as competitors are trying to become the everything-doer stage. So no, this probably isn't replacing ChatGPT, Claude Codex, or similar tools for people who already rely on those systems. It's better Siri. It is not yet the future-shaped hole Apple would really like it to fill. That's it for Apple Teeny. If Siri can find this episode, maybe next year it can open it too. Talk soon. This episode was generated by Podkey. Create your own at podkey.fm.